Hello, friend. In the second season opener of The Bad Batch, the boys are confronted with a massive opportunity. Sid, their information broker, has caught wind of a large cache of treasure being transferred from Count Dooku's personal stocks in his palace to Imperial hands. The sheer amount of stuff that Count Dooku managed to steal while he was the leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems is impressive, and so all of the clones in The Bad Batch want to go after this treasure trove. Well, actually, Hunter has some reservations.
We've stayed off the Empire's radar since Camino. Why chance it now?
Because the contents of just one of those containers would be worth more than all the jobs you pulled for me combined. You can buy your freedom.
It's really a classic way to tell a Star Wars story. You have your heroes caught in a dilemma. They're at this huge crossroad in their life. They could risk it all for a big treasure, a big payday that could solve all of their problems and help them achieve their dreams and desires. And old Sid over here is the voice of their greed and their desires, and she's also the voice of reason.
Clearly, you're not paying attention to what's happening out there, but I am. It's only a matter of time before the Empire comes here, and then my little operation is over. Which means no more jobs for you.
See, Sid's not all that bad. She does care a lot about the Bad Batch, it seems, but good intentions don't always lead to great results. But Hunter eventually comes around to the idea because he does have a responsibility to Omega now to protect her from whatever hellish future the Empire and the Kaminoans have in store for her. And so we have these noble intentions to protect Omega. But since this is a Star Wars show and the Bad Batch are the heroes, it's really not enough for them to just protect Omega, right? It's almost selfish for this squad of super soldiers to take back some control over their lives and decide their own future and, potentially try to retire in peace. How dare they? Which is where Echo steps into play. Now, so far, Echo's been pretty damn quiet and in the background ever since he got blown up with that shuttle at the Citadel and rebuilt with a bunch of cybernetic attachments and forced to lead the Separatist droid army while in some weird stasis communication pod. This ordeal he went through is enough to change most people's personality, temperament, and how they view the world. And while Echo has changed both physically and in his personality somewhat, at his core he's actually not all that different from the young cadet we first meet in the earlier days of the Clone Wars. And so it's not surprising that it would be Echo who reminds Hunter that because of their special abilities, they actually have responsibilities to the wider galaxy.
I know why you agreed to this mission. But we can do better things with Dooku's fortune than hide, Hunter.
And so he dispenses some pretty harsh realities.
Our lives are like this because of Omega. Taking her off Camino was the right thing to do, but there are others out there who need our help. We should be doing more.
I always find it incredible that Echo is still able to be such a rational individual after everything he's been through. It's almost like the emotional part of him was removed during his ordeal at the Citadel. But then again, if you take a look at what he says, he's not being cold and heartless like a droid would be. I mean, sure, poor Omega hears the part about their situation all being her fault, and she almost gets killed trying to, retrieve Dooku's gold. But Echo is right. The Bad Batch is a commando unit. They're designed specifically to fight against overwhelming odds behind enemy lines without any support. They essentially are the perfect unit to go around the galaxy rescuing people who need to escape the Empire. Whether it be a young Force user who's escaped Order 66 or their fellow clone brothers who refuse to do the bidding of the Empire. To run away from such a duty is not something that Echo can really do. And this is really the essence of who Echo is and who he's always been. But before we look at Echo's past, a quick word from our sponsor for today's video, ownasaber.com, and tonight we have the Night Reaper. And yes, this is a really crazy opening ignition sequence, and that's because it has a pixel soundboard and pixel blade inside of it. The Night Reaper is a Padawan level saber at ownasaber.com, which means it's quite affordable, especially when paired with the RGB blade, which is built for sparring and training duels. It can withstand quite a lot of damage. The duckbill design of the emitter on the hilt makes sure that it's easier to lock the blade into the hilt. The The design features 4 screws to make sure your saber is very sturdy and in place. When you pair the Night Reaper with a pixel soundboard, as we have demonstrated for you guys here, what you're essentially getting here is a polycarbonate tube with LED strips running down the entire length of the saber so that you can get all sorts of cool visuals and sound effects. I highly recommend it if you want the full-on lightsaber experience. So guys, if you're interested in getting one of these blades in your hands, check out the description below. We'll have a link for you, and also don't forget to use our promo code PORG, that's all caps, for another 20% off. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. You guys remember how Echo got his nickname? Well, CT-1409, as he was known, came up with a pod of clones known as Domino Squad. His fellow clone cadets, Heavy, Cut Up, Droid Bates, and Fives, ate, trained, and slept together while trying to graduate and become full-blown clone troopers. At the time, Echo was known for constantly repeating the orders given by command during training exercises.
Comlink, we just relayed orders from... We all heard the orders, Echo! Stop calling me that! Stop repeating every order! Less yapping, more blasting!
In his defense, his unit was a complete mess, and everyone sort of did their own thing during the exercises, which is why they were constantly failing. I mean, sure, the dialogue in this episode makes it seem like Echo is kind of like a teacher's pet or some person who just loves following orders. But Domino Squad literally had guys like Heavy who just wouldn't listen to anyone and would just run out into the open firing a Gatling gun from the hip. It was just utter chaos watching them in action. And so Echo had no choice but to speak out to his clones. This is why he was constantly reminding his fellow brothers to
follow orders. Follow orders. Follow orders. Follow orders. Orders came in clear, mates. Nothing to repeat, Echo. Not today.
It wasn't until they learned how to work together that the clones would become a more functional unit and pass their final trial. And so when Echo continues to repeat the orders given to them by command, he's not just a simple follower, he's actually an individual who throughout his entire military career has always done what's necessary to get the job done. And so when his unit is chaotic and uncoordinated, he tells them to follow orders. When his squad leader Hunter is looking to run away and hide from the galaxy, Echo reminds him of who they are and what they're capable of and what that could mean for those in need. And when Echo was stationed on the Rishi listening post, the only warning station that guarded the route to Camino, the homeworld of the clones, he didn't give up when a bunch of commando droids took over the outpost. He regrouped and helped retake the station, and was able to warn the Republic about the Separatist invasion fleet heading to Camino.
Your new unit is lucky to have you. I'd be proud to fight beside you anytime, anywhere.
And when the Separatists attacked Camino, and Echo was tasked with defending an important bridge on Tipico City with no backup and just a handheld blaster against overwhelming odds and numbers, he didn't really think much about his own safety.
Fire, keep firing. We can beat these guys.
It's not surprising that someone like Echo would rise quickly through the ranks. He would go from shiny to 501st Legion Trooper to ARC Trooper within a pretty quick time. And Echo really personified what it meant to be an ARC Trooper. During a rescue mission to the infamous Citadel prison, Echo Squad was pinned down right as they were trying to extract on the shuttle they took to the prison. When Echo saw a commando droid man a larger laser turret that could destroy their ride, Echo immediately hopped into action and tried to take the droid out, but was blown up as a result. No one told Echo to expose himself like that and put himself in so much danger, but Echo always takes the initiative. He was willing to sacrifice himself because he understood how important that shuttle was to their escape. Echo wouldn't die, of course. He would be turned into a cybernetic monster by Wat Tambor, and his brain would be used as a simulation machine to predict all future clone battlefield movements. He'd be used during the Battle of Anaxis. When he was finally saved by a small Republic task force, what does Echo do? Well, the second he recovers, he volunteers to plug himself back into the Separatist battle nets and lay out a trap for the Separatist droid army on Anaxis. Echo would turn the tide in a military campaign that was not going well for the Republic through his actions. Later on, he would join the Bad Batch because he clearly was no longer a regular clone, and his appearance and his ordeal made him fit in better with the group of mutants. And then when the Bad Batch's world was turned upside down because of Order 66 and the end of the Republic, it was Echo who first noticed that everything was going to hell, while Crosshair and Hunter were fighting over whether they should have executed Caleb Doom.
None of this makes sense. Those clones served alongside General Balaba for years. How could they turn on her like that?
Echo was also the individual who picked up immediately that Tarkin's presence on Camino would be trouble for all of the clones.
Admiral Tarkin's here. He's the one evaluating the clones, and he's not a big supporter of clones.
In every one of these situations, Echo has proven himself to be extremely intelligent and able to correctly assess what's going on, and he usually chooses not only the right tactical move to solve this problem, he also usually chooses the morally correct solution as well. Echo doesn't hesitate, he simply processes information and he acts immediately. Almost like a machine, but beneath all of those cybernetic attachments, I mean, Echo has a deep empathy for the people around him. He fights for all of the brothers he's lost, the brothers that he now has in Clone Force 99, and also for Omega. Echo has been consistent in his personality and character through one of the most arduous journeys that any clone has ever been through. Echo is actually perfect officer material, if you ask me. I mean, his combination of decisiveness and his ability to assess situations correctly and accurately are really two rare traits that usually don't come in the same person. And should Hunter ever go down or have issues, I can see no finer replacement for him than Echo. And right now he makes a fine second in command as well. He's able to follow orders without question, but also let Hunter hear the words he needs to hear. And he also says the words that sometimes Hunter just forgets to say because he's kind of this brooding and quiet individual.
I know you all gave up everything because of me.
Good thing we did. We might be fighting for the Empire right now. Or worse. We made the right choice, Omega. I'd do it all again.